is also protected. And we've got somebody from one of our sister committees here who wants to ask some questions about it.
Yes, thank you. So I'm a guest from the Environmental Audit Committee. Thank you for coming along, Minister. So I think the Chair has perhaps done the job for you with my first question, but could you explain to the committee how important the marine protected area is to you and to this government?
Well, very, Mr Stephenson and Chair, and Chair, that we've spoken about this before, and these issues are very important to me, both in relation to the overseas territories, but more generally, and they are to the Foreign Secretary and colleagues. And you'll be pleased to know that actually just at the Oceans Conference in Nice last week, the DEFRA Secretary of State met with the Mauritian Prime Minister and actually discussed the cooperation in relation to the Chagos archipelago, and the Prime Minister of Mauritius reaffirmed his commitments to the creation of the marine protected area and the importance of collaboration on this. And I think Mauritius has its own ambitions in these areas as well, and we've made very clear our expectations, and that's why we made sure that the establishment of the marine protected area was at the heart of the agreement. It's going to be agreed in a separate written instrument, and our officials have already started the discussions on the detail of that. We will manage the environmental protection on Diego Garcia and up to 12 nautical miles, and then Mauritius will manage the MPA outside of that, and we are working very, very closely with them on the design of that. It's been welcomed, you'll be pleased to know, by a number of organisations, but I particularly wanted to mention ZSL, who've come out and very clear. They said it was good news that the agreement had been reached, and the partnership will protect this globally important marine environment. So that's a very a very positive sign, and ZSL has also committed to making it a success. So I think there are very, very positive signs to how this is going to operate into the future, and these are important environments, as the Chair said.
Good. Well, I'm glad you think it's important, and I'm glad that you've got confidence that the Mauritian government thinks it's important too. We're lacking quite a lot of detail at the moment. So on the 2nd of April, Baroness Chapman came to the Environmental Audit Committee, and she said that she didn't know what the future plans were for the MPA. We're nearly 3 months on. What's the current status?
So officials are already discussing, and I'll bring in Peter just to say a little bit more, but essentially we're trying to meet the 30% targets, obviously globally, the SDGs, and we want to be in line with all the relevant international frameworks, including the IUCN.
Just so that people watching understand what you're saying. So the Global Diversity Framework is 30% of land to be protected and 30% of the sea to be protected by 2030.
Yeah, and we're looking, by the way, to support Mauritius more broadly on these targets. A key part of our separate partnership with Mauritius is focused on environment and nature and conservation, and so this is sort of a dual way in which we can achieve those goals. But Peter, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, sure. So on the detail of the future Mauritian MPA. The Mauritian government held a conference last year, in February last year, which brought together experts from across the scientific community. It was very well attended. It was in Port Louis. ZSL, I think, played a key role in bringing everyone together. There are various sort of agreements, they're not finalised, but plans coming out of that, which include very high environmental protections, continuation of the no-take policy in the vast majority of the EEZ around the archipelago. There is one area where there would be increased fishing, but that's sustainable fishing linked to the resettlement of Chagosian communities. So it's in line with sort of normal practice that it would be a sustainable policy.
So if these environmental protections are so important for both governments, why have they not been central to the treaty rather than sort of dealt with in the sidelines afterwards?
Well, they are part of the agreement, and they were certainly part of the discussions that we had with them. It was very, very clear from the beginning. In fact,
I suppose I could phrase it another way. Why not get comfortable with the agreement on environmental protections before you sign the treaty?
Well, the fundamental objective of the treaty is to protect the base on Diego Garcia. So that was our primary objective as UK national
Well, we don't agree with you. Some of us here don't agree with you. Some of us think that the wildlife should have come through, but a bit higher up the list.
The wildlife is very, very important, but the primary objective here, of course, was to protect the operation of the base and put the situation on a sustainable footing. But this is very, very important. It's certainly going to be a focus for myself and other ministers going forward to get this right. And by the way, this obviously sits within a wider set of commitments that we've made in the other overseas territories. I've worked with a number of them on those commitments. And, whether it's the fantastic work we're doing around Pitcairn or Tristan da Cunha or elsewhere. I was just with the Premier of the Cayman Islands the other day talking about their environmental protection work, which is fantastic, particularly in the ocean environment. So this is a key priority for us.
I'm conscious of time, but if I can ask one or two more.
Right, I've got a couple of questions I'm going to take.
Okay, fine. First, in relation to the no catch, from what I've seen in February, the fisheries minister in Mauritius was quite open to, in the future, issuing fisheries licences. And I think it probably goes beyond the fringes, which you were describing in relation to resettlement of Chagosians. So how are you really going to get comfortable with the Mauritians not just issuing licences such that those seas might be plunged in the future?
Yeah. I haven't seen the fisheries minister's piece, so I think that's probably one for us to go and research what was said, because our understanding is the Prime Minister Ramgoolam committed to, restated his commitment to environmental protections only at the start of June.
And my final question is about the money. So is there going to be an additional cost attributable to the UK's work with Mauritius to protect its environment going forward that hasn't already been accounted for, as in above and beyond these vast numbers that we've been hearing?
Well, there's a separate agreement with Mauritius Development Partnership, and there are different aspects to that. The treaty, the costs for that are, as I set out, average 101 million per year.
Is there going to be a ring-fenced fund for the environment of these islands?
Ultimately, these will be decisions for Mauritius in terms of the management of the outer archipelago.
We're not giving a ring-fenced sum of money to Mauritius for the use of defending the environment of these islands.
Part of my understanding, but I'm happy to